Hello and welcome back. I have with me today MK Simcha Rothman of the Religious Zionism Party, who's also a member of the Judicial Selection Committee, to talk about the law of return. MK Rothman, let's start just by talking about Ukraine. There were thousands of Ukrainian refugees whose lives were saved because they had a place to go here in the state of Israel. This was thanks to the law of return. Would you say that the law worked well? Why or why not?
The law of return is not a law for refugees. Refugees from war zones, there are the treaty, the UN treaty on refugees. Countries get them based on many reasons. And also Israel, without any connection to the law of return, I think that it was the first decision by the government of Begin to accept Vietnamese refugees. So the fact that something is not covered by the law of return does not mean anything about refugees. And just recently I read that a complaint, maybe justified complaint, that many Jews from Ukraine decided to flee to Germany. So it doesn't serve its purpose. We need to get refugees from Ukraine, but of course, as a Jewish state, with the law of return, I would prefer my efforts of getting refugees from Ukraine will focus of getting Jewish refugees and not non-Jewish refugees. But again, humanitarian aid to refugees, humanitarian aid to Ukraine, to the war in other places in the world, has nothing to do with the law of return. The law of return has a purpose, and the purpose is to build the Jewish state and to make sure that the Jewish state is the homeland of the Jewish people. And when you have, and you see the numbers, and it was just released, that from Ukraine, from Russia, from Belarus, from former Soviet Union countries, the numbers, more than 70% of the people that come from there are non-Jews. And some of them are not even identified as Jews. Some of them don't want to become Jews. It's not about now a conversion. It's not about giyur. It's just about the question, is the law of return serving its purpose? And especially when you make the comparison to what happened when you talk about the USA, when you talk about France, when you talk about South America countries, and you see the numbers, that's 97%, 96%. So we're talking about, we're focusing our law of return aliyah efforts in taking people that are non-Jews, they don't want to live as Jews, and then when they come here, everyone talks about the crisis. What do you do with the giyur? So don't create the crisis and don't try to find solution to the problem you created. And that's basically why we as a party want to cancel this grandson clause that is the state of Israel will be able to focus its aliyah, budgets and efforts where it needed to get Jews to Israel.
Now, your party is talking, as you said, about changing this law of return, canceling the grandparent clause at a time, though, when we have a war going on in Europe. What about the Jewish state's efforts towards tikkun olam? Isn't the timing slightly wrong?
In any given time, there are about 20 wars going around in the world. And again, as I started, the first decision by Begin, and I don't object to this decision, I think it was a good idea. And in a proportional number, the state of Israel should stand and get refugees in the proportional weight. And you know there is usually countries that are more close in proximity to the countries that are in the war accept more, and then people after the war return. It's not about the law of return. The law of return is for people who come here and want to make the state of Israel their homeland, their nationality, their identity. It's not there are whole different solutions for tikkun olam, whatever that means. Again, I think sometimes people use this term in the wrong way, but it doesn't really matter. To help the people that in need, Israel was one of the first countries to send a hospital to land to
Ukraine to help.
To Ukraine, so people can be there. To send humanitarian aid, to send food, to even give some a short period of time for refugees, not a problem. But when you talk about the law of return, it means you're getting people to become part of Israel in large numbers, to be part of the society in Israel, not to give them a shelter over their head, but really to get them as part of our country. And that's not the case when you talk about getting a temporary solution for some refugees from any war in Ukraine or other places.
Now, you mentioned how it's to build the Jewish state, but some people have called the law of return a racist law, a law that, we only take Jews in. It makes it easy for Jews can automatically become a citizen if they're Jewish, no matter where you are, how Jewish you've been before, and how supportive you've been of the state of Israel. But others who maybe are supportive of Israel, dedicated, want to be dedicated to the state of Israel, to live here for other reasons, can't utilize something like the law of return. How do you respond to the people who say that it's a racist or an unfair law?
I don't think that there is any merit to this claim. I think that when you talk about grandson clause in contradiction, you might talk about it's not about what you are, it's about what your parents and grandparents are. Maybe the criticism on the grandson clause might be more to the point, but also the state of Israel was founded as the homeland of the Jewish people. It's supposed to serve its purpose to be the home of Jews. It's not a racism. That's what does it mean to be a nation state. That's what it means, like most countries in the world, a nation state. Some people look at nation states as racist. That's their problem. The majority of the states in the world are nation states. We have other countries in the world who have some kind of law of return to the people of their nation, but it's not unique, but it is unique for the Jewish people. There are many countries, for many other nations, there is only one Jewish country, and to keep Israel to be the homeland, to serve its purpose as the Jewish state and the homeland of the Jewish people, I think the law of return is extremely important. Not a racist, no need to cancel it, but we must, the new addition that was added, it was not in the beginning of the law. It was added in the 70s for good reasons at the time, but became wrong as time went by. When it started, it was the majority that people came through the law of return were Jews, 100% Jews.
Jews, halachically Jewish, you mean?
I'm not even talking halachically. There was a big debate. Does the word how the law should treat people who are converting, if they are halachically Jews, not halachically Jews, but I'm talking about part of a Jewish community. What the law is, not what it should be, not what my dreams or other people's dreams. I'm talking about reality. And if someone made aliyah with his family, you said, okay, so all the family comes, even the non-Jew grandson. Okay, makes sense. It doesn't make sense when the majority of the people that come through the law of return are non-Jews, and the state of Israel focuses a lot of its efforts and budgets and manpower and ideas and thinking on getting people that are non-Jews. And in the meantime, people from the US or France that make aliyah, they come here, they are frustrated because the state of Israel does not know how to focus the efforts to make their absorption in Israel more easy, more to the point. And it's all focused on getting people that it's much harder to get into society in Israel because they're non-Jews and they don't want to be Jews.
So if the law would change to your favor, the way that your party is advocating, what exactly does that look like? What changes?
So it will be basically the law as it was enacted in the beginning. The law as it was enacted in the beginning said that any Jew that wants to come to Israel can make aliyah and become a citizen of Israel on the day he arrives, unlike people who do immigrate from other reasons, and they have other processes to get Israeli citizenship. But the Jew, it's his home, he comes and it's immediately can become a contributing member of Israeli society from day one because it's his home. That's the basic idea behind the Jewish state. When this law was enacted, Israel was 600,000 Jews living in. Today we are almost 7, 8, 9 million, depends how you count. We are and that's what in few years the population in Israel more than 5 times doubled itself. Why? Because it was very clear that this is the homeland of the Jewish people, and Jews from all around the world came, and from day one they were eligible to vote in elections, to be a citizen, to become full members of Israeli society, and that's the purpose. So we should go to the original version.
Now, what about Reform Jews, people who are Jewish by patrilineal instead of matrilineal descent, perhaps living in other areas of the diaspora, like the United States? Would they be considered Jewish? Who decides who is a Jew?
Okay, so of course that's always a question. It was a big question. Ben Gurion at the time of the enacting of the law sent a letter to 50 thinkers, Jewish thinkers, and got 50 different results, of course, because it's Jewish thinkers. What did you expect? But so it's a complicated issue. That's why he left it undecided. But and we can get to a debate what I think, but it doesn't really matter because there is a status quo. I personally don't want to try and change the status quo, and definitely on that. Any person that is identifying as a Jew, and that's why we don't have a problem with the US Jewry, or from France, or from England, or for other places, because they're members of a Jewish community. As I said, the numbers are like that 97% of the people who make Aliyah from the U.S. are Jews, according to the law of return definition. Some of them are really spouses or grandsons or stuff like that, but it's a very small number. And a person that is a member of a Jewish community in the U.S. and wants to make Aliyah, to the best of my knowledge, no one asks if the community is Reform, or conservative, or Orthodox. He comes, he wants to make Aliyah, he makes Aliyah. Not a problem. When we talk about the numbers, and it's also percentage, but also in numbers. The number of non-Jews that came from Russia, non-Jews, I'm not talking halachically, non-Jews that came from Russia to Israel is more than all the Jews that came from the U.S. together. So Jews and non-Jews. So the number-wise, and that's of course the focus of the Aliyah efforts of the State of Israel, as I see it, should go to the people who come here because they want to live in the Jewish state, not because Israel has a better welfare system, but because they want to live in the Jewish state and be in partner with the big part, the growing part of the Jewish people that is working to build a stronger Israel.
Wonderful. So we're running out of time, so I just want to ask you one last question. What is it about the law of return that you want to make sure that all of our listeners abroad know? What is that one message that you feel is important for you and for your party, for everybody to know?
So the law of return, as I said, is to make sure that every Jew, whenever and wherever he is he or she is in the world, they will know that the State of Israel, it's their home. They can come here. They will be accepted. I think during the Corona, we got a lot of people decided to make Aliyah because they were used to come to Israel and look at Israel as their second home, but they didn't do it formally. So the law of return allowed them to do it immediately. Even during Corona, Aliyah would never stop, because even when the State of Israel closed its border to Israeli citizens, it was closed to everyone. But the second it wasn't closed for Israeli citizens, anyone who said, I want to make Aliyah, was able to start a process and come and make Aliyah, understanding this is their home. We cannot prevent people that wants to make Aliyah from coming to Israel because it's their home, and that's, I think, the strongest message of the law of return. In order for this message to be true and real, it has to focus on Jews, and other people can come through other means. There are other laws concerning this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.